Ladies and gentlemen, all I can say about this lens is wow. This is the Helios 44-2 from Russia, and I have to say that I have absolutely loved all my experiences in shooting with this lens. I've shot on the Canon EOS M and the 5D Mark II, getting both raw stills and raw videos. So without further ado, let's get into the video and see what this lens is about. Alright folks, so here we go. The Helios 44-2 58mm f2 lens is undeniably a talented lens for its age. Although it's often seen as a copy of the infamous Zeiss Biotar 58mm f2, it definitely has its place in the camera bag. Over the years, I've collected a range of different vintage glass, and I have to say that I feel ashamed to not have picked this lens up sooner. Well, to be honest, there are a whole heap of fantastic other vintage glass out there like the Canon FD or Takuma 50mm f1.4. So what's so special about the Helios 44-2? And why do so many people rave about this lens? Well, for most people, it's the bokeh. This particular lens has magical powers to create awesome looking bokeh for the price. They're beautifully shaped and well-rounded and can produce a swirl effect that just make the image pop. But in all honesty, it's not just the bokeh that makes this lens or any other lens great. The colors, the overall rendition of the image, the cinematic look, the smooth out of focus areas, and all this stuff just make me think why you need to spend $1,000 on a lens if you're not planning on doing serious work. If you're just casually shooting around, just get this little guy that costs peanuts and have some fun shooting. This lens for me can create an image that you would see in old Hollywood with the Cooke Lenses or other vintage primes. It's the fact that it's not a clean image, but that's what creates the secret sauce. It's different from all the other lenses, it has a unique look, and that's what's going to make your footage stand out from the crowd. Now looking at photo samples, here are some shots that I took using my Canon EOS M and Speed Booster. Don't forget that there are plenty of these lenses out there and can sell for as low as $40 depending on the condition. Most of these shots were taken wide open at f2, and in all honesty, it absolutely blows my mind how good this lens performs for the price. I don't care how soft it is wide open, and to me it's absolutely no flaw. If it helps hide that digital look or that aliasing that I get from my Canon EOS M, then I'm going to go ahead, use this lens, shoot it wide open, and just have fun getting that nice distinctive look. Alright, so looking at the specs of this lens, the Helios 44-2 is an all metal lens weighing in at just 230 grams. It's very light, very compact, and easy to carry around, and you can put it in a bag and you won't take up much space. This lens has 8 aperture blades in total, a 49mm filter thread, and a minimum focus distance of 0.5 meters. Speaking of focus, the Helios 44-2 has one of the most smoothest focus operation from any vintage lens I have ever used. The lens also has a declicked aperture preset by nature, so you can smoothly adjust your aperture on the go when switching between different lighting situations. Now looking at the back of this lens, the most common mount for these Helios lenses is the M42 screw mount. I normally use the Canon EF mount system, and so I used a basic M42 to EF adapter off Amazon in order to mount this lens. Now if you use the Fuji system, then obviously it would be M42 to Fuji X. If you use Sony, it would be M42 to Sony E-mount adapter, and that's pretty much how you do it. Alright, so here's the big one, the video quality of this lens. I've tested this little puppy on both the EOS M and the 5D Mark II, just to test both the APS-C and full frame aspect of this lens. I took heaps and heaps of footage just so you guys can get a general idea of how this lens performs on cameras that you guys are probably familiar with. Now I went to one of my favorite places in Melbourne, the aquarium, and it's located in the city. It was quite a dark space, and so it was also a great way to test out the low light performance of this lens. You know, it's f2, how well does it perform on both APS-C and full frame? And looking at the performance, I have to say that I was completely blown away. Look at all the colors that this lens gets. Even shooting at wide open at f2, you can see like this radial sort of blur on the sides, or this little swirl effect that I absolutely love. All this is manual focus, and you can see some fish swimming, but I'm able to obtain good manual focus with that smooth focus throw on this lens. There's none of that strong focus breathing that you get with most photography lenses, and so I was really pleased to see that when you're focusing from one subject to another, that the focus breathing is very minimal and not conspicuous. It was quite a dark space, as you could imagine. We were just inside this enclosure with a lot of dark areas, but I want to see how well the f2 aperture was, and that's the aperture that I pretty much mostly shot on inside this place. Now in terms of ISO, I normally keep it at ISO 100, but I found on the 5D Mark II, I would lift it up to around 320 or sometimes 640 depending on how dark the area was. On the EOS M, I normally shoot 100 ISO, but you know, I had to change that to around 160 or even 320 ISO because it was that dark in there. I just needed something to see. There wasn't a whole heap of noise. I was actually quite impressed with the results. There's no denoising in post or anything like that. This is exactly what I recorded, and this is exactly what you're seeing. Now, as for the negatives, you know, not every lens is perfect. They have some flaws to them, but I have to say that there aren't many with the Helios 44-2. Now, one thing I would say is probably the minimum focus distance of 0.5 meters and how close you can get to a subject. But I'm just being picky. I mean, 0.5 is good enough for portraiture or just general use. So if you want to take some close-up shots, then just attach a close-up adapter or something like that. Now, another thing that a lot of people would say is probably f2. It's like soft, but I wouldn't say that's a flaw. For me, it's a bonus. I actually prefer the fact that it's soft in order to hide that digital look or even aliasing that I might get on my videos. So overall, if you're looking for a cheap lens with full of character, then the Helios 44-2 is my vote. It's got lots of character, great colors, great bokeh, smooth focus. I can just say heaps about this lens and all the good things that it produces. It's definitely a cinematic lens that packs a lot of punch, and if you do end up getting this lens, I'm sure you'll be pleased with it. As for me personally, I'm probably never going to sell this guy. If I have to get rid of it, I'll probably frame it or do something like that. Just pay homage to this guy, man. This thing's a beast. I'll use it on all my cameras in the future to come. Also, let me know in the comments below. Just drop a comment of your experience with this lens, what you guys think about it, or if you found a better copy of this guy. So let me know in the comments below. We'll all share our thoughts, just have some fun. And also, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.